With the release of the Nintendo Switch 2, I had to get my hands on the new controller, which is the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller. This is the new iteration of the Pro Controller for Nintendo consoles, and while it might seem pretty similar for the Nintendo Switch 1, it definitely has some changes, some upgrades, and overall it does feel a little bit different. First off is the quality. I feel like it is a better quality controller than the first Nintendo Switch Pro controller. It is slightly different. The materials, while pretty similar in many aspects, are a little bit different. For example, you can definitely see that these parts here are matte instead of the texture that it had before with the cutout here, and that cutout actually on my controller was a little bit sharp to the touch because of the little incorrections here and there, and here we have it much better in terms of smoothness. It's just overall better made. As you can see, there's nothing that would be sharp, nothing that could be misplaced. Everything is super smooth and just seems like a one single piece of plastic all around, other than this line on the front. But other than that, the build quality, the plastics used are super top notch, feels really good in hand, feels really good in terms of the build quality. The plastics are good, there's no cracking, just no sound, very solid in the build quality. And that comes to all the different things that we're gonna go over in this review, like the analog sticks, the triggers, all the buttons, everything feels very, very solid. So the build quality is definitely amazing on this one. And in my opinion, that is actually, while the first one was good, this one is even better. It has the Nintendo's Rumble 2, and also it has motion controls, which you can actually feel really nicely. For example, the vibrations are really, really nice. You can definitely feel them. And the motion controls and gyro controls are really good for games where you can use your motion. So for example, a little bit of adjustment when playing Fortnite, for example, and you're shooting and you want to have that micro adjustments, you can do that with this controller. So it's pretty much all the features that you would expect from it are in this controller. And while they're the same as the Pro Controller 1 had, they are improved compared to it. And by the way, with Instant Gaming, we're doing a giveaway where one of you can win the game of your choice. If you're interested in this month's giveaway, check out the link down below. And on Instant Gaming, you can find great deals for Nintendo Switch Online subscription, games, and even on different platforms like PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. One thing that you will notice is, by just the looks of it, while it is slightly different on the front, slightly different on the back, but the top part is totally different. It has a different color than it was on the last one. I personally am not the biggest fan of it. I just feel like I would rather have it black, but it's not bad looking per se. And I know that many people are gonna like it. It is definitely distinctive enough that you know that this is the Pro Controller for the Nintendo Switch 2 and not the Nintendo Switch 1. So it is a difference in terms of cosmetics, but overall this, I would say, the biggest difference, and the side panels not having this cut that it had before. So cosmetically, it's pretty similar and it looks like an iteration of the Pro Controller. One thing that you will notice is the back buttons. As you can see, there's two back buttons. This is a new feature for the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. It is perfectly placed, in my opinion, where your middle finger is. So if you're holding a controller like this, it is right where your middle fingers are resting. So it's pretty good, in a really good spot. And overall, they have really short click to them. Overall, they are really well placed, in my opinion, very ergonomically, and also just the click of it is really nice. I feel like those are really nice back pedals, but these are more like a button on the back. It's not a pedal per se, rather it's like two buttons on the back, which feel really good in a good spot. They have short travel distance, and it's really easy to remap them. You can actually do it really simply in just a couple of clicks. Just put on the quick menu, and then you can switch what kind of buttons you want to have for this. It's super simple, super easy. They definitely put a lot of thought into making this as simple as possible without having to do too much to set those back buttons, and overall they work and perform really well. For example, I tried them in Fortnite, where I had one of those for jumping, one for sliding, so you can pretty much put any button on there as the back pedals. So for me, jumping and sliding, it just makes it much better because I can focus on aiming instead of the buttons on the side. So that's always the two buttons that I don't have to press. I can do it on the back pedals, which I'm pretty used to because I'm playing on PS5 with Pro controllers where I always have 4 pedals. So that way I'm kind of used to having that 2 buttons here. So it's really good, really well put. I have to say those are one of the better back buttons I've seen on a controller. Another new feature right here on the front, we have an audio jack. So now if you're playing with headphones, you want to hear better in a game, you want to not disturb others, or you want to have a headphones with microphone, you can definitely put it here. Like I said, on the front here, we have an audio jack. So that is new, and that is really nice because now you can connect it straight to the controller. One thing that I did not expect to be an improvement per se is, while the analog sticks once again are incredible and they are really, I would say, accurate, there isn't any dead zone and they're really in the middle. You don't feel, even touching it, you don't feel any movement on it. So it definitely is a nice thumbstick, something that I always look into when gaming. I feel like the PlayStation controllers have incredible thumbsticks, and when you have a customized controller, then those are amazing too. Depending on the consoles, they're better and worse sticks. I feel like these are one of the better ones. They're super accurate, super sharp, I would say. There's no dead zones whatsoever on those. We'll see in the long term how they're gonna hold up, but for now they feel super incredibly sharp, incredibly accurate. There's no movement, no dead zones. For example, on Fortnite I was able to put them at the lowest, which was 5, and they worked perfectly fine. But one thing that is a nice improvement is when you move it around, it's gonna be hard to show on camera, but how smooth it feels, like the touching of the walls, the overall movement, it is like next level. I never tested a controller that had this smooth of operation as compared to this. Like this is like the most smooth, like the ring around it or whatever it is, the way it's made, when you're moving it around, just the analog stick and the board around it, just super smooth. Like there's no friction whatsoever. It's buttery smooth. You will definitely feel it when you get one, and you'll know what I'm talking about because it is really good feeling when you're playing around with the controller. Overall, I did expect it to be a little bit bigger, and I feel like the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller actually was a little bit bigger than this. It does feel like it's slightly smaller, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I just feel like it was a little bit bigger. It feels a little bit smaller than the previous one. Overall, it is rather on the smaller side for a proper controller compared to other consoles. It does feel a little bit smaller in my opinion, but it's still nice. It fits really well in hand. Overall, there's just no problems whatsoever. Like I said, it just feels like it seems in person smaller and it feels a little bit smaller, but if it is, I'm not sure. I don't have the Pro controller anymore from the Nintendo Switch 1, so I cannot compare, but it just the first thought that I had. But other than that, it fits really nicely, and I have to say it weighs, I would say, somewhere in the medium. It's not a heavy controller by any means. It's not a super lightweight controller because it's a wireless with battery and everything, but it feels like a nice happy medium where the controller feels premium and well made, but not something that is overly too heavy. And also, it just feels like I said, just perfectly in the medium. So it's pretty nice. I think for many it's gonna be just right. One thing that is, as always with Nintendo Pro controllers, an amazing battery, which should last you approximately 40 hours. Personally, I have not tested it that much yet to really know if it lasts this long, and I doubt I'll ever test it like this because I charge my controllers pretty regularly, so there's not gonna be any time that I'm gonna have this without battery. But they did improve the charging time, and now it's only 3.5 hours to fully charge the controller. So 40 hours of gameplay for 3.5 hours, this is definitely incredible. So you can charge it in a free time, and then you have a lot of battery with this controller. In summary, it's a really good controller, really well made, build quality, and the material that it's made from, all of it feels super high quality, definitely amazing, and I feel like for Nintendo Switch 2 is even more important than on Nintendo Switch 1. And the reason for that is, I feel personally that I would not play on the big screen anymore because of the games just not looking anywhere as good as I wish they could. And it just doesn't mean that I want every game to be 4K 60 frames per second, but when the games started to look really bad on a huge TV 4K sitting not too far from it, it kind of meant that I would play the Nintendo Switch 1 on a handheld. I would just play it in the handheld mode. So I didn't really see the reason to get one of these. But now with the Nintendo Switch 2 being just much better in the big screen, for games like the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, even ARMS getting an update, Mario Kart World, and Fortnite, all of them being much better quality on the big screen, now it's definitely much better time to get the Pro Controller. And I can definitely see myself playing on a Pro Controller at home on a big screen because now it's really feeling like this is a nice hybrid console where you can really take advantage of it being a much stronger console than the Nintendo Switch 1 was. So in my opinion, it's even more important to get this now that we really have a use case that you can really feel like it's a nice home console. And the games like Cyberpunk 2077, Fortnite, Zelda, and all the other games really can benefit from a Pro controller like this. Overall, I have to say I'm pretty happy and pretty surprised how good this controller is. While I do know that the first one had a lot of people loving it, I feel like this one is even better than the first one. But like the Nintendo Switch console as a whole, it feels like an evolution rather than a revolution. But that being said, it is a nice evolution. If you have any more questions about the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I'll see you next time.